Hey, podcast listeners, how do you feel about Hot Dish? Because that is the bulk of today's episode of JJ Meets World. We come up with a new recipe, we talk about judging it, and maybe even a little something about rhubarb. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of JJ Meets World, unless you're getting a colonoscopy, in which case, best of luck. And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called J.J. Meets World.
So is this like hot dish contest season? Like, do they all happen at this time of year?
Sorry, sneezing. It is hot dish season. And in fact, if you're going to judge the world by the seasons according to food, we're just in the midst of cold butter season. Stone fruit season will be next, followed up by the grill season. And then pumpkin spice is getting longer every year, which is unfortunate. And then you're going to get into stuff nobody likes season, which is usually around the holidays, where you make things out of tradition that you've convinced yourself that you like, but you really don't. And then in the doldrums of winter, so right around February, hot dish season is hot. I mean, I've had 2 consecutive Sundays eaten up by hot dish related content.
Yeah, so this weekend, as we had to rearrange things just a little bit because you are so busy hot dishing or judging hot dishes. How many hot dishes did you sample today? Would you say?
I sampled 15 plus Coogan, and so I was at the Drecker Hot Dish Festival, and this is their 6th annual, and I was a judge the first year, and then they've tapped me to MC it every year since. And they apparently like what I do because they keep asking me back over and over and over again. But today included New York Times bestseller, Emmy Award winner, and just all around awesome gal, Molly Ye, as one of the judges, and from the Food Network. And so she and I got a chance to chat a little bit. I got to meet her husband, a gentleman who is apparently I don't even know how to explain it. He's like the food impresario of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. He's got a bunch of different restaurants that he's launching. I can't even think of who that would be like. Well, maybe like Ryan Nitschke, aka Dirty, here in the Fargo area. And then Rick Guion, who we got to have on as a guest. Guion would be a great guest. So Rick is the guy who started the Fargo Moorhead Eats page. And there's 33,000 people who subscribe to that, who ask everything from where's the best cheese fries to alert. They've got oxtail at this one grocery store right now, to just general food reviews. I'm hoping to do something with him on a professional level here in the not too distant future. So that was the festival I was at today. I tried 15 samples and then the Coogan. My favorite was from a place called Nova, which is inside the Fargo Brewing Company. And their take on hot dish was as a French onion soup hot dish. It had noodles, caramelized onions, these little like fried crunchies. It was really, really good. I could see myself having like 2 scoops of that on a plate easily. The winner was from Cows & Co. Creamery out of Carrington, North Dakota. And if you go into Brewhalla, they've got a cheese case there that's pretty good, including gelato. And their take was a very simple, like a shepherd's pie, where it had ground beef, some veggies, a layer of mashed potatoes, browned mashed potatoes on the top. And then they put a cheese crisp in the center of it to serve it, which is a really nice touch.
Ooh.
Not all hot dishes are great. I tried a couple today that I was like, this is gross. One of them I spit out into a napkin.
In front of them, did they see you do it?
No, they did not see me do it.
Shoot.
But I was like, it's cold and it's almost entirely mustard.
Ew. Oh,
Yeah.
ick.
Right?
They did not do their research on who the judges were.
Right, bingo, right? And so last weekend I judged a competition that was for the North Dakota Veterans Honor Flight of North Dakota, Minnesota. I judged their hot dish festival that was a fundraiser for them, and they had 12 competitors of that. And here's what I will say about hot dish: the scandal of modern hot dish is this a hot dish? And that question is brought up on a pretty regular basis. Because at the Moorhead American Legion, the winner was a chicken cordon bleu. And I gotta admit, it was pretty much just chicken cordon bleu in a big pan, right?
Yeah.
And I think the reason it won is because all the other hot dishes kind of blend together. And this one stood out because it had little crispies on the top of it. I mean,
so you're saying like I could show up with a pan full of pulled pork and go, yeah, this is my pulled pork hot dish.
Yeah, this is Tucker's Deep South pulled pork hot dish.
And
you know
really
what?
Good.
You might stand a chance at getting in first, second, or third place.
Yeah, this tray full of meatballs I got from Subway. You call it Subway meatball hot dish. Yeah, there you go.
I mean, in all honesty, you could just put a bunch of like candy on there and be like, this is Skittles hot dish. Enjoy. And then I heard this scandal. I heard of a place that does a chili competition every year, like a pretty well-respected chili competition. And if they have 32 entries, there will be 33 chilies to sample, because the first one is they take a scoop of everyone's chili except for white chili.
No.
Pop it in a crock pot.
No.
And serve that. And they said it consistently takes like second or third place.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like, that is total and complete bull crap.
That sounds awful. I don't want them to do that at all. I want them to stop doing that right now. I actually feel kind of strongly about this.
Trust me, when they told me, they must have seen the shock in my eyes, because they said, don't tell anybody. And I was like, you can't ask me to sleep on something like that.
That seems rather heinous almost.
It is.
It does. I don't know why I'm having such a strong emotional reaction to it, but I think that's wrong. I think they need to be outed.
I think that, okay, so let's say that you and I were going to enter a hot dish festival.
As teammates?
As teammates, yeah. In fact, we're going to have a pop-up restaurant that's called Juckers. And it's JJ and Tucker's. It's Juckers. You'll get jucked up, mother jucker. And this hot dish is an amalgam of things that we like. So I'm going to tell you right off the bat, because I think I know you well enough, mashed potatoes is our foundation on this hot dish.
Okay.
But I'm thinking that is actually the base layer. And what we do is we bake it so that there's like a crusty top to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, it's
almost like it's a thick hash brown, but it's it's like a potato pasty filled with potato.
Now the protein is going to be the thing we have to talk about, because the easiest, and here's the thing, we know we're feeding people for like 2 hours out of these giant pans that can only be heated with sterno cans.
Yeah.
So we've got to keep it warm, but not burn it. And so I think the protein, like the easy go-to, would be ground beef. It holds heat pretty well.
I think that's a good idea too, because a lot of the kind of liquid that will come with that will really sink down into that potato layer, and like will continue to cook down there, so that even if it's sitting for a little bit, you're gonna it might be almost better to take a piece of it a little bit later when it's been sitting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, with a congeal factor.
Well, yeah, because gravity's going to do its thing. And so I think one of the nice things about the base that you've chosen is that it's going to retain any of those juices.
Let me ask you, what's your feeling on sweet potatoes?
I am not into sweet potato. Well, let me rephrase that. I love sweet potato fries.
Okay.
But beyond that, I've never had a good time. And to me, there's a difference between sweet potatoes and yams.
Okay.
Even though I think there is not, or is there a difference between the two?
So let me talk into this, because I think the top, no matter what, the top has to be crunchy.
Okay.
Like there needs to be a crunch factor to make it a good hot dish. It's why tater tots and hot dishes go so hand in hand.
Okay.
So this is my suggestion. The top is this sort of crisscross of sweet potato fries.
Oh, I can get into that big time.
So because that way it doesn't feel like it's too much potato. I think if we put tater tots on the top, it's too much potato.
Yeah.
But we're talking about not super thin, not shoestring thing, but like thinner, crispy sweet potato fries. And the reason I say that is it'll add a sweetness that it's a sweetness that goes so well with savory.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that would work really well.
What are we going to do for some veggies? We got to have some kind of a veg in there. And it could just simply be like corn, or it could be a mixture of veg, but we got to have something in there.
I'm very, very picky when it comes to this kind of a thing. There's very few like mixed veggies that come in cans. I hate, I think they're really gross. I can do corn, but I wouldn't be able to handle green beans or carrots or anything like that.
How do you feel about cream corn?
Yeah, I can do cream corn.
Okay, so this is what I'm thinking. Mashed potatoes on the bottom, and like I said, we put those in the oven and we crisp up the very top of it, so there's kind of like a creme brulee punch through layer at the top of that. And then it's creamed corn on top of that, so that the cream from the corn kind of becomes a little bit of a gravy.
Okay, sure.
The potatoes and then we put the ground beef on top of that, and the ground beef should be salty. It should be the thing that brings the most salt into the recipe. And I'm not saying that like it tastes like a salt lick, but I'm saying nothing gets salted except for the beef.
Well, what's like the fat ratio of the beef? Like what's the percentage?
We're doing the fattiest beef possible, like the 75%.
Okay.
But we will drain some of the fat off.
Okay.
So it's not going to be full fat, but like there's the fat is the highway to which flavor travels. And then we top it off with those that sweet potato. I think that we might have a hell of a hot dish on our hands.
That does sound more like that shepherd's pie though, right? It does sound like a shepherd's pie to me.
It does, except for you don't see the potato. At first glance, you're only seeing the sweet potato.
That doesn't make it not a shepherd's pie. Just because you can't see the potato.
A shepherd's pie.
Just because you can't see the potato at first doesn't mean it's not there.
Oh, listen, my friend. I have judged so many hot dishes now. And while you're correct, it is the same makeup as a shepherd's pie. But by putting it at the bottom so that you don't see it right away, it is kind of this welcome surprise when you put your fork into it, because you're being served it in a cup. So you're really only seeing the shoestring and maybe a little bit of that. It's not until you take that first heaping forkful out that you see that. And this is the other thing too. By having potatoes as the bottom layer, we now have a heat seal where those potatoes are constantly heating everything that's above it, because they retain heat so well. Yeah. So that forkful probably has a little steam coming off of it.
So you're thinking
food steam. You're
thinking in terms of like the bite served specifically to the judges, like how well that will be perceived.
I want to win. I'm not coming there for camaraderie.
Would they ever let you compete in any of these since you've judged so many?
I think that I probably could.
Are you sure?
The problem is I don't have a restaurant.
Scandalous.
I need Juckers to open.
You do so many events that you should have your own sash. That's just JJ's event sash. When JJ is when you're like being official, when you are an official part of some event, featuring JJ Gordon as the MC or whatever, you're at a funeral or you're at a cookout or whatever, you should just have a sash.
That's actually not a bad idea. Can I amend it? It's sash like, but it's actually my food judging bandolier.
Okay.
Because it would have to have like a couple bottles of water, some napkins, a Sharpie, a holder for a Sharpie. And I'm thinking there's something on there too that like is sort of like if I need to like a red card. Like they're like, oh, I've heard about the red card. When he hates something, he slaps it down. And then their team is disqualified from winning at all.
What kind of a market would you like? Where would you have to move to be able to do this full time?
I don't have to move anywhere. I just have to grow a mustache and start telling everyone my name is Fernando.
Mm. You need
The
a
problem
mommy
is that
blog.
my local celebrity is what pays to get me in the door, right? And they're not just going to let some rando come in there and start giving his opinion on whether or not you should be adding noodles or spaghetti noodles or egg noodles into your hot dish. They're going to be like, bounce this guy out of here, get rid of him. And then I'll be like, don't you see? It is me, JJ Gordon, who you've trusted for so many years with your hot dish secrets.
Is judging a food competition sort of the entree to being a local celebrity? Like that's how we crown local celebritism in this town, is if you get to judge a food competition?
That's a good question. I want to say yes, but I also think that sometimes like they choose a judge based on like, oh, so and so, like this chili cook-off is sponsored by this beer company, and so my buddy is my buddy Gerbil is going to be one of the judges for this competition because Gerbil, he makes a hell of a chili, and in fact his is on this, but we won't tell anybody about it. Gerbil, and also like one time Gerbil saved my life. I was in a bad place and I'd been gambling a lot, and Gerbil came and picked me up from the Shooting Star, and he's like, "You got to quit it, man. You're gonna lose your wife. You're gonna lose your kids. You're gonna lose your job. I can't cover for you anymore. This isn't college anymore, Steve. You got to get your life together. God damn it." And yeah, so and also this is Pat, the line cook. That's how they they'd introduce all of the judges, and you'd be like, "Well, geez, Pat, we're in a humdinger here."
I just want to know if there are local celebrities in this town who in their heyday were judging a lot of food competition, but they've been pushed aside for, you and some other people. And I want to know if any of them are at home, like nursing a grudge about, oh, it used to be me judging those hot dish competitions. I'd eat for an entire summer just with my opinion on food. And now that it's all dried up because you've cornered the market.
Can I tell you something? That is not just just something you're saying off the cuff. That literally happened to me.
Who was it?
I can't tell you who I ousted, but they confronted me about it like 2 years ago, about how they're like, I judged this competition for 18 years and now you're just swinging in and you're taking care of us. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I need to get back to judging this competition because I'm a professional. And they were pissed, and they had to come there and they gave me like opinions. They're like, I can't believe that one won. What did you do? Why'd you mess that up? And I want to be like, you need to calm your body right now. Holy crap.
JJ, someone's going to come for you in the same way you came for them at some point.
Prepared.
Are you?
Yeah. I always carry with me contact solution, like eye drops, so that I can pop it in their drink, and then they'll get instantly sick. And they'll be like, oh, God, what are we going to do? And I'll be like, hey, this is a great event. Thanks for having me over. And they're like, oh, JJ, thank God. And then I'll step up, and then they'll remember me not only as the person who helped judge, but also they'll remember me as someone who stepped up and was clutch. And so whoever that new hot person is gone. And are you thinking right now, like, did he just admit that he would poison someone? Yes. Yes, I would, because I think that those teams deserve a judge, a champion for them, who takes this as seriously as I do, seriously enough to poison.
I would not be surprised in the future if your life did inspire some kind of Lifetime movie of the week that, like he was the local food judge and then like the up and coming talent.
8 out of 10, the JJ Gordon story. Okay, let me ask you this. Who plays me in the movie? Because I think it's Bobby Moynihan, and I'm disappointed by that.
I don't know, actually. I would love to see what they could do with CG and just recreate you.
Really?
I think that'd be pretty interesting. Kind of depends on, I think we're probably a solid 10 years away from this happening, because I think your reign is going to be pretty strong for a while. But a new class of judging will happen. New stars will arise.
Part of the situation that I'm in is I need to not only get I need to keep being in the good graces of the people who are planning these competitions, but I think the next step is for me to be one of the planners. And
Of a
so
competition?
by getting in on the ground floor, it keeps you there. It's like being elected into the Senate.
Oh,
Once you're
okay.
there, you got to do a lot to lose your seat.
Okay, so here's an actual. I mean, I shouldn't say actual. Here is a hypothetical I want to take serious for a moment.
Okay.
Mayor of Fargo calls you into his office, and he says, JJ, we have the funding to have you do this, but we just don't know what time of year and what the focus is going to be. We want to create an annual food competition here in the city of Fargo to attract tourism and to give the local population another thing to look forward to. And so you've got the budget, whatever it is you need, you get to name it, you get to pick what kind of food, you get to pick what time of year this happens and where it happens and how we do it. But we need a food competition and only you can come up with this, and you have 24 hours to decide the concept.
Okay. I already know what it is.
What is it?
It's called Taste of Fargo. And what it is we take, let's say Lindenwood Park, very walkable. The parking's not great, but it's there. Maybe we run some shuttles. Maybe the old Trollwood is actually better. And so what it is restaurants are invited to come and do some kind of a tasting of some item on their menu. It might be a hot dish. It might be Frankfurters. It might be something like that. And you can stroll and taste from as many as you want. But here's the deal. You're not doing a cash transaction with these restaurants. What you're doing is you're using like flavor bucks. Okay. So you have to go to a booth and buy your flavor bucks, and you can buy them with a credit card if you want. And everything costs the same. So it's like 3 flavor bucks for a taste test of whatever is being offered from any restaurant. But you could buy, they might have 4 things. So you're going to spend 12 flavor bucks to try everything. At the end of it, everyone turns in their flavor bucks, and the city of Fargo gets to keep half the revenue, and the restaurants get to keep half the revenue. So ultimately, it's a win-win. So the more that the restaurant sells, the more obviously they get out of it, plus the exposure, and the more we get out of it. Now you might be saying, well, so a restaurant has to split some of their profits and they've got to come and like sign up. Why would they want that? Because the budget I'm going to use with the city of Fargo is going to go all into advertising. We are going to have huge stories leading up to this, right? We're going to have multiple entrances and exits so that not everyone is funneling to the same point. Because the idea is you got to get them in as fast as possible. You push these restaurants to do stuff that is ready that they can hand off immediately while still remaining quality. So, for example, let's say Worst. Okay, let's say Worst was going to be one of the places. I would suggest they do half dogs. So it's half of their 3 most popular sausages that you can get, and so you can spend 3 taste bucks and get yourself half of the Philly cheesesteak.
They were flavor bucks.
They're flavor bucks. What, do you have a better idea?
No, I want you to be consistent, because if we're going to create a currency, I want to be calling it the right thing.
Okay. I mean, that is one thing that maybe I've got to workshop. That's the only thing.
Flavor bucks.
Flavor bucks. They're taste tokens. It's I don't know. It's food francs. It's got a French theme to it.
Why not just have them use money?
Regular dollars?
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, this is exactly why. First and foremost, anyone will tell you it's carnival rules. If you have them buy everything in like flavor bucks, you actually come out on top, because the odds of someone walking away with only 2 flavor bucks, right. Like, do I really want to go buy 1 more flavor buck so that I can get in there? Like, not. That is 100% a way that you're going to take more money in through that. Number 2, this way it keeps everybody honest, right? Because if you're like, hey, restaurant, how much did you make? They might be like, oh, we only made $200, but really they brought in $500. And also then you don't have to deal with people trying to do credit card processing at every booth, and like if their system isn't as good as this one, and then you don't have to have Wi-Fi for the whole space, it'll make things go a million times faster, even though they have to stop and get these bucks. And here's the thing: you'll be able to buy flavor bucks in advance of the Taste of Fargo. You'd be able to go to we'll make a deal with like the Casey's, where you can go to Casey's and buy flavor bucks in advance, so that when you get there, you don't have to wait in line. You can walk right on over and start sampling your favorite mashed potatoes.
Something tells me flavor bucks is a terrible idea. I don't know why. I love the fact that you're like doubling down on it. And that makes me want to challenge it even more. But I also think like people could probably just use money.
No, because money doesn't keep you honest. Money, and then also
flavor
bucks.
So
this is what they're too.
Flavor.
You're asking for a heist. You are just begging for a heist.
So I walk up to the Flavor Bucks kiosk at a Taste of Fargo.
Yep.
And I swipe a credit card in a reader that someone hands me.
Yep.
And I buy $20 worth of Flavor Bucks.
$20 US currency equals 20 Flavor Bucks.
20 Flavor Bucks worth of Flavor Bucks. And then are they dispensed as paper?
Yes. And they have my face on it.
So really it really is a money exchange.
It is.
It's like from a real currency to a false one. But that one that is completely physical and just printed on sheets of paper.
Oh, no, it's not on paper. They are like when you play, like when you watch movies where there's a casino and they've got the high roller, like placards. Yeah.
So they're really expensive is what you're saying.
Yeah. The first year is going to be we're going to lose money on the first year.
They're not super fungible is what you're saying.
Over time, we end up making money, but not in that first year. I don't believe anywhere in the pitch originally that you said it had to be cost positive.
Well, you're right. You are correct. I did not
in fact
specifically say this cannot bankrupt the city. One
would say that it actually shouldn't be cost positive, because then you're not actually it's a municipal thing. You're spending taxpayer dollars. And so you should be doing it for the betterment of the community. And so if it turns a profit, you're doing something wrong.
Okay.
You should put it into a budget, and you should say your budget is $1 million.
Okay.
And I can make that happen. Also, I'm going to make the placards myself. And I've got a system where I'll mark them so that I know when someone is trying to counterfeit them. And that brings me to my next point. The Taste of Fargo Food Police will be there enforcing, and we're going to, on the first day, within the first 4 hours, have a big show of busting someone for making fake flavor bucks.
Is that like how the Secret Service is in charge of making sure that the money supply is not tainted in the U.S.? Correct. Okay.
And we're going to take that person away, and we're going to have a thing where it's like, go about your business, everybody. Please continue enjoying the Taste of Fargo.
Will Fargo police be allowed to enter the grounds?
They will not have jurisdiction.
Okay.
Only my private flavor police will be able to go about, and they are going to be fully armed with salt bullets.
Okay.
And they can use those for taking down criminals, or you can ask them to come over if you need some salt on your dish, and they'll fire a few rounds of salt bullets into whatever you're eating. You're going to have to throw it up in the air high so that they can hit it, bam, bam, and I'll put a little salt right in the middle of whatever you're eating.
So how long do you think Taste of Fargo runs, would you say?
4 days.
4 days. Okay. So after that last day, you guys are going to you're going to pack up all of the things you've built up, right? Like the flavor police will, be decommissioned and can kind of go home, and and anyone that you've you've arrested, I mean, I would assume at that point they could go home to their families and stuff, right? Like after 4 days, this would just be done, and then we could just kind of move on and take Lindenwood Park back, or maybe North Trollwood back to what we were doing before, and reestablish the domain of the police force. So that's what happens, right? Is after 4 days that all just goes back to normal.
It depends on the will of the people. If they prefer this style of government and they insist on it remaining here because they enjoy Taste of Fargo and Supreme Emperor Gordon's style of living, then I think that it would be tough to it'd be tough to talk the people out of having to relinquish that power.
Okay.
Also, I should throw this in there too. There will be balloon animals.
Ooh.
Yes, genetically modified animals that will be replacing real limbs with balloon parts, for the children to see, not to pet, but they will be able to see them to show what kind of technology we're pushing in Taste of Fargo.
Do you see yourself ever actually starting some kind of a festival of some kind?
I mean, joking aside, I want Taste of Chicago is what, this is all modeled after. I think Taste of Fargo would be massive. I think that people would absolutely love it. And I think that so you see it when you go to like the Red River Market, right? There's all of these little cottage industries that have popped up that are great on a Saturday morning. But if you had something that was a little more, like that was longer, a little more thought out, that is a little more spread out so that you can have more people, more picnic tables, I think that the public would go gaga for it. When I went to Taste of Chicago years ago, it was amazing because it was not just savory stuff, but desserts. There was a place that had just the best watermelon I'd ever had, and it was just big, huge slices of watermelon for like $1.50. And it was superb. It was so good. And I want to do that. I also desperately want to start a rhubarb festival.
I think you've talked about that before, haven't you?
Yeah, I've told it to so many people, and like maybe this year is the year I get it going. It could be a 1-day deal, and I think it's something that has a band at the end of it. But during the day, you're sampling rhubarb food. You get someone from the Cass Clay Historical Society to talk about, what rhubarb is. You have rhubarb roots available so that people can buy that. Because, what people don't realize is there's so many varieties of rhubarb. There are the thick stalks that are mostly green that have huge leaves. You have the thinner red stalks that are so sweet. They're ruby red. And so people should be having essentially multiple breeds of rhubarb, like I do. If you're going to have 3 rhubarb plants, having 3 different varieties would make your pies, your jams so much better.
Why is rhubarb just sort of everywhere, like around here? Like people just find it in their yards, just growing.
Because it's essentially a weed. More
that is
than
what it is. Okay. I wasn't quite sure what it was.
It's in the same family as a thing called burdock, which when you plant burdock, it grows this like spine with these little like puff balls that look like, if you looked at them under a microscope, they look like hooks like you'd find on Velcro. Okay. And so have you ever seen like where like the little sticker balls get caught on like a dog when you walk down by the river? That's burdock. And it's virtually the same family. It's prevalent up here because rhubarb grows exponentially during the summer, and it was a sweet way to have, like apple pie. You have to wait until the end of the year to get apples. I will have my first harvest of rhubarb before the end of June.
Sure.
If it's a good year like it was this year, I got 3 harvests out of it. And so people liked it because it grew so fast. It is almost impossible to kill. It's pretty drought resistant. It comes back every year. It's the first thing that starts growing. It's super hardy. Animals don't go for it because the leaves contain a poison. It's just, it's a really stellar vegetable that has natural sweetness and tartness. I mean, people used to talk about how they would just pick a piece of rhubarb and maybe like dip the end in sugar and chew on it. And that was like a treat for them at grandma and grandpa's house.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed it in pies, or if I've had it like in a bread before, was really really tasty. But
Muffins, I think, is phenomenal.
yeah,
I also
I have
think it's
such a
bastardization to include it with rhubarb or
I
with
have
strawberry.
I have such a sweet tooth that I would probably attend any festival that was devoted to some kind of sweet food for sure. Like it's kind of a problem. Like I've had to kind of cut back on how much sugar I take in because I just take in too much because in the evening, like that's the only thing I want is something sweet.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know where that comes from.
What do you use to what are you using to bite that these days?
Well, if it's just like a normal weekday and I'm trying to not do that on a normal weekday, I'll do something as simple as uh jam and butter on toast. So that I'm getting a little sweet thing like that, or I'll even just have a banana or an apple. But when it's like the weekend and so I'm going to let myself cut loose, oh, I mean, it could be all sorts of stuff. This weekend, I hit the DQ blizzards really hard.
Yeah.
Um, Snickerdoodle cookie dough blizzards are my
Ooh.
absolute thing these days. Absolute. My brain goes into a new realm of pleasure with that. But I also dig the sugar cookies at Hornbacher's that have like an inch of frosting on top of them.
Yeah. Yeah, you
Those are
do.
awesome. And with those, I always have to have a cold thing of milk right next to it to chug right afterwards. So
What percentage of milk are you drinking these days?
I'm a 2% milk guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Recently,
Yeah.
my wife got me into whole milk.
Okay. I could see
And
myself getting into it. I just haven't really messed around with it. I'm surprised at how much seeing the blue 2% carton has affected me psychologically over the years. So
really
like if I see milk not come out of that, I'm like, oh, this isn't going to taste good, which I'm sure it'll just taste totally fine.
interesting. I mean, to me, when I see a glass of milk, all that matters to me is that when I touch it, it's cold,
Yeah, ice cold,
right?
like absolutely cold.
Like if I touch that glass of milk and it's room temperature,
Pouring it out.
I I'm not gonna I'm not gonna drink it. Not gonna drink
No,
it all.
no one should touch that. It's just
Just
it's
forget that,
wasted.
right?
Wasted. And I think it should be chugged. I think it really
I
should be. I
Yeah.
mean, like for me, I don't think milk is. I'm just going to sit here and sip some milk because it's going to get warm over time. It's usually like the only time I ever have milk is if I am using it to help consume some kind of sweet thing, some kind of a I've had a maybe a fudge brownie or a cookie or something, and it goes so well with that. I don't know what it is about milk that it does to like your taste buds after they've had sugar roll over them, but it's perfect.
Do you remember the campaign? I'm sure you do. Got milk?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So hear me out on this. What if their slogan was got milk, idiot? And so you're inferring that whoever you're asking, you're asking them if they have milk and they're already an idiot.
Yeah, so I'm trying to understand, does having the milk make them the idiot, or is it do you not have milk, you idiot?
It already shows how little respect you have for them.
I mean, it seems it seems that the person speaking thinks you are an idiot regardless of whether you have milk or not. They clearly don't know if you have milk or not. They're asking you, but they're still calling you idiot.
Yeah, there's some truth there. There's truth. I think that it'd probably be better if it was got milk, buddy. Like, because that infers both like disrespect, but also like friendliness.
Well, you know what's funny about that campaign though is it was so successful, but all it really did was ask you a question. That's all it did.
Yeah.
It's just, hey, do you have this? That's it. It wasn't, hey, this here are the many benefits for why you should be drinking milk. It was just, hey, do you have this?
Maybe it should be like our new slogan should be like podcasts. And then if they say yes, we'd be like, cool.
I belong to a subreddit called Hydro Homies.
Really?
And we're all about drinking water.
Yeah.
basically. And it's literally people posting photos of like the ice water they're about to drink and like, oh, I just poured me a cool glass of H2O. And then people chime in on how good it looks.
Oh, I kind of want water right now.
Yeah,
fact,
I just chugged some.
Can we end this podcast so I can go drink water? That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information. I think the only thing that you shouldn't put in a hot dish is metal. Because you're not supposed to eat metal. We're not robots.